Hello, dear friends. What a blessing to be with you today. And today we're together for another episode of the Spiritist magazine program at Kardec Radio. If you haven't met before, my name is Sheyne Martin. I'm broadcasting to you from the Spirit Society of Richmond in Richmond, Virginia. And today we're going to be talking about work. What is the Spiritist conduct at work? And that's one article from one of the issues of the Spiritist magazine. That's what we do every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is issue 29 of the Spiritist magazine. Shortly share with you on the screen, and that's what the PDF version of the magazine it is. Every week we look at the issues, we choose one article for our discussion, and the goal is to bring awareness of the Spiritist magazine resources. Remember, you can download the app. You can download the app for your phones and for your tablets, and you can order the physical copy of the magazine, or you can do what I'm doing here on my side, which is to have the PDF version on the computer or on your phone so that you can read and you can study and you can take it anywhere you go. So we can make sure we have all these teachings at our fingertips. So let's talk about Spiritist conduct at work. In each issue of the magazine, there is one article or one chapter from the book Spiritist Conduct. The book is translated but not yet published in English, but you can access them at each issue of the magazine. If you were to visit spiritistmagazine.org, that's where you're going to find all of the resources I've mentioned. And remember, you are a spirit living on this earth, and you and I, at times, will wonder, how do I behave at work? Because through work, through our trainings, through our abilities, you and I are working towards the betterment of the life of all. We learn, we go to school, we get a profession, whatever that profession is. All useful work is blessed. And then through that profession, through those accomplishments, we can improve the lives of everyone. We can apply the teachings to improve. This way, living in society, we fulfill the law of society of complementing each other's abilities, and also the law of work, because the law of work and the law of society is a refresh. It's on the third part of the Spirit's book. And if you have curiosity to know what the third part of the Spirit's books brings to you, I encourage you to stay after this program to listen to the wonderful Divine Laws program by our dear friend Carol Correa. She's wonderful. She's going question by question on the third part of the Spirit's book, and with her you can learn about the divine laws as well, and as well as going to the Spirit's book. But remember, we are here to fulfill the will of God, to redress our mistakes, to learn and grow together, and to enjoy each other's company. We are here to work, to learn, to grow. We are multidimensional. And by doing the things that we do, we fulfill the law of work and the law of society. But then there are tips and tricks by Andrea Luis, where he's going to bring to you and I how to go about it. He says, dedicate yourself to the constant exercise of a noble and dignified occupation once you have favorable physical conditions. Let's see if I can make it all light. No hair bigger, it's gonna fit. Life improvement requires the individual tribute to work. So he's saying, let's look around for a constant exercise of this occupation, a noble occupation, a dignified occupation. If we have the physical ability to be out and about in the world, then we look for it. Remember, we're also talking about non-remunerated work that many do as caregivers. The society doesn't remunerate, but that is also a dignified occupation, raising children and taking care of the elderly, for example, the most uncommon, unremunerated um, occupations we have. And it takes a lot of the physical conditions to take care of others. In order for us to improve our lives and the lives around of those around us, we have the requirement to work. Let's make a side note here when we were, if you want to know a little bit more about work and how the work we have on the earth, of course, this is a copy, at times poor copy of the blessings that we can find in the spiritual world, of course. Let's think about Andrea Luis and his experience in Solar. He was rescued after spending time in the lower zones. He went to the hospital, he received his treatment, and as he became healthier, then he felt the need to work. And he had to find the occupation that his abilities in the spiritual realm allowed him to engage in meaningful work. In the incarnate realm, he was a physician, but when in the spiritual realm, he discovered he did not have the knowledge of the spiritual medicine that exists in the spiritual realm. So he had to adapt, and he started as a nursing assistant. There's no shame in any of it. It's actually the most important work because we are, each and every one of us can improve through this individual tribute to work. And as he explains, and Miss Laura explains to him in different chapters of the book, how work is, the requirements in the colony, because remember, the colony is still around the lower zones. It's much like a city on the earth, except that the inhabitants have the same vibrational attunement. Everybody has shelter and clothing and health care, and they contribute. They are there. It's a transitional place to be. They go, they recuperate, they learn, they make plans, and they return to the earth. But it is a little bit, there's no crime, there's no violence, right? So it's a little bit better than what we have here on the earth. So let's think about this tribute to work. When I go to work, no matter what I do, all work is important as long as, he says here, is a noble and dignified occupation, because there are occupations on the earth that are not dignified, and that's not what we're talking about here. He says, coordinate the distinct roles of your tasks regarding family and occupation. So he says, coordinate between being with your family and being at work. They embrace the Spiritist doctrine and the collective that you should serve. Attend to all of your obligations with the necessary balance. The loyally fulfilled duty maintains a healthy conscience. So he's talking about how are we organizing our time between having the roles we have at work, having the roles we have in our family, also doing our spiritist work, and the collective activities we commit to. So many of us were like, oh, but I'm so busy, I can't really do much for spiritism. He says, no, we need to serve the collective. And when we are doing this type of spiritist work that is unique on the earth, we are serving the collective by improving the conditions of those spirits that suffer around us, by improving the spiritual environment on the communities we live. Usually there are spiritual hospitals attached to spiritist centers, so we can improve a lot the collective around us. He said, attend to obligation with the necessary balance. So if I say 2 weeks, 2 days a week for the weekend, maybe I have a few hours to dedicate to the spiritist group that I have, and the rest of the 2 days for my family obligations. So one example, right? But only you know what the necessary balance is in your life. When we fulfill our duties, then our conscience is healthy. Another parenthesis. Let's look at the book Messengers by Andrea Luis, where he has these spirits who are in the spiritual realm with him, and they're discussing things that they were supposed to be doing in the last reincarnation that they were not able to fulfill or partially fulfill their plan. Most of us will partially fulfill what we came here to do. And they explained to Andrea Luis how they were prepared in many sectors of life to serve others, to bring others with them, to elevate the areas they were incarnated in. And many of them failed, and that's what he's talking about. And then when we return to the spiritual realm, our conscience is not going to be as healthy because we came here and we didn't balance those obligations. We only thought about what is mine, how can I enjoy. We treating life as an eternal vacation, but it's very important that we think about this balance of obligation, and also what are the sectors of life that deserve our attention and which ones do not. He said, at work, observe your job duties so that you not stagnate your own resources in destructive irresponsibility or in pernicious routine. The restless pursuit of perfection results in real competency. So he's saying once we are comfortable in our job, we seek to grow. We seek to look at why are these people paying me to be here. If we're talking about at work, at your profession, and then if I become too comfortable, am I stagnated on my resources, doing things that are destructive and irresponsible, or in this routine that is not healthy for us? We are here to consistently learn. So even when we become a superior spirit, we're still going to be on an internship of its own to become, to the knowledge and improvement, and the growth is eternal. We're always growing. There's another thing we need to talk about here too is when this is going to air. We have a lot of folks, right after the pandemic, if you're watching this on demand later in the few years to come, because once we make these videos, and we encourage you, dear listener, to not only watch this, but share with others, like, and do all those things that make this content and the other content from your Spiritist Center and from Kardec Radio relevant to everyone. Because when we share, we may be reaching others that are in need. And that's how the systems work, to spread the news. The content needs to be liked and interacted with. It's not about vanity, it's about reaching out to those who need, because the work at Kardec Radio and the Spiritist Magazine is 100% volunteer based. We don't make money of any of these work. We donate our time and talents to be here, from those who write, from those who edit, to those who present in many different programs, not this one. Other people use the Spiritist Magazine in their prayer programs as well at Kardec Radio. So when we think about coming from a state where the whole world had to stop, and we really were brought back into our family lives to re-examine the nuclei of our lives, because the family is the school for the souls. The home is the school for the souls, says Jesus in the book, Jesus in the Home by Neil Lucio. And also is the exporter, as Jesus says, of people to the community. So what happens in our family lives is what we observe as the collective outside the home. And that's why we see so much difficulties and despairs, because we need to go back and really ask, what is really important? Is it that I go about my day enjoying and indulging in all kinds of physical sensations and pleasures, like life is a vacation? Or can I come back to the duties that I have with those closer to me, those in my sphere of influence in my neighborhood? And ultimately, can I have less so we can spread the joys of being on this earth and the comfort and all the resources that I've received with others? It's very, very important questioning, and that's why we're questioning ourselves. Is this the right work for me? Should I go work somewhere that is more in alignment with what I have? But only you can know, and that's why we want you to study. Co-workers, he says, assist and understand your co-workers. Sometimes we have those co-workers that are difficult. Sometimes we are the difficult co-workers, right? For someone, for sure. Contributing for the honorability of the class to which you belong. So when we are understanding and assistant to others and helpful to others, then we can all be a better team to deliver the results that we are there to do, instead of engaging in some of the activities that we know we do, talking about one another, complaining about one another, right? So it says assist and understand. The spiritist, that's you and I, is held accountable for his or her qualification in the multiple sectors of experience. Now you know that you're an immortal spirit living on this physical existence, your spirit, perispirit, and physical body. You know, once the physical body perishes, when the physical body perishes, because we're all going to perish at some point, meaning we're all going to discarnate, your spirit, enveloped by its spirit, is going to find itself in the spiritual realm, because there's no nothingness. There's life after death. You also know that you're a reincarnated being, meaning you've lived many other lives, and this life today is the result of the many lives you've lived multiplied by the grace of God. So today you find yourself where you need to be, with the abilities and resources that you need to do your job in that community, in that work, in that home. And knowing these brings us a greater level of responsibility of thinking, how am I saying things? How am I conducting myself? Am I bringing the Spiritist teachings to my daily lives in action? Not teaching others or trying to convert others, but am I aligning my behavior with the divine laws as brought to us by the Master and explained by the Spiritist doctrine? In the third part of the Spirit's book, that what you find is that the Spirit's taught Kardec, when you align your behavior with the laws, you're fulfilling the law, you're practicing the good. When our behavior, our thoughts, our actions, our intent does not align with the divine laws, then we are breaking the law. There are consequences for breaking the law. And there is also that we call that evil. And to some extent, we prefer the word ignorance, because if you ignore the laws, even though they're written on your conscience, then there's no neutral. It's either we are doing the good or we're not doing the good. Cultivate sharing your professional tasks, including those who are related to business transactions. Human utilitarianism is an illusion like the other one. So we think that business is just about making money, just about results. He says, cultivate charity in your professional tasks. So sometimes we have to think, what would the world look like if before each meeting at work, you can start today, maybe on your own silently, before you go to a meeting, in presence or virtual, you say a prayer and you say, God, may these minutes together allow us to align with your designs. May we think the best ways we have to serve our customers. How does this business in general fulfill your law? How does this go in the greater scheme of things, and how we can best serve and positively affect most type of people? Not just about growth, but in more general alignment with the harmony of the universe. Maybe you can't do that out loud, but you can arrive a few minutes early, put your distractions away. The distraction that I have here that usually plays the music for us. Put it away, silence, close your eyes and say that prayer. And some places do pray before meetings. We have that thought even before leaving our homes for the blessing of the travel, before we enter a building, work-wise or spiritist building, we pray before we enter, so we can be charitable and not just think about results and growth. Never make use of the possibilities that you have in the Spiritist movement to reach favoritism and advantage in the professional realm. That's a very important one. Sometimes people use their positions in the Spiritist movement to gain access and to have to be the favorite of others in the professional realm. So we cannot take the things we have in the Spiritist Center use for professional gain. We should not be advertising our professional services in the Spiritist Center. We're not going to the Spiritist movement or the Spiritist Center to gain clients. Ultimately, we're going to get to know each other and what we do and maybe able to help one another, but there's a conflict there. I cannot use my position as the president of the Spiritual Society of Richmond to gain favoritism in my professional realm, put it on my CV so I can get a promotion. We should separate because the Spiritist movement is service. Jesus never used his ministry to gain advantages, so much so that he was crucified. If he was to appeal to favoritism, he wouldn't have, he could have appeased many others, but he was fulfilling the will of God, and that's what we need to do. We cannot use the possibilities we have here to gain professional advantage. Those who deceive their own fate lose themselves. Very important too for those who are mediums. We cannot use the mediumship irresponsibly to gain professional acclaims or even make money out of the mediumship we have. That's all outlined in the medium's book. If you go to the medium's book, which is the handbook of mediumship, you would see that as well. In no circumstance devise the occupation of any kind, once they are noble and useful, though humble and anonymous. Work is worth the quality of its fruits. That's very important. I'm going to make it bigger because I didn't realize it's smaller for you. Any occupation is useful as long as it's noble, right? So we need to learn to appreciate the things that happen on the background that keep our cities running, that keep our neighborhoods going. So we need to appreciate each and every person for the occupation and ability that they are able to have in this lifetime. Very, very important. And as we have in this book, there's always a Bible quote at the end of each chapter. I do not have the book in reach here to show you, but this one is John chapter 5, verse 17, the New International Version, that says, "My Father is always at his work to this very day, and I too am working." So if Jesus is working for the betterment of all, he is at the realm of the spiritual progress and evolution of the earth. This beautiful blue dot in the immensity of the universe. If he is working, we need to be working. And remember, any useful activities work as long as it's noble and lawful, of course. Sometimes lawful in the world is still not noble. So let's make it clear. It's not just about being legal, it's about being morally noble as well. So I hope this brought you some guidance on how to go about your day in the sphere of work. And dear friends, I hope that this has helped you. Remember, you can visit spiritistmagazine.org. There you'll find the link to the apps, the link to the PDF, the link to purchase the physical copy of the magazine. Is at cost, only the price of printing the magazine. You can also write to the editor-in-chief at spiritistmagazine@gmail.com, where you can tell her maybe you have a talent, maybe you would like to contribute, maybe you'd like to write an article. There are guidelines, there are benchmarks, and there's quality, right, that we need to uphold. But let us know if you'd like to be a part of this beautiful work at the Spiritist magazine. And last but not least, I wish you a wonderful day, a wonderful night, evening, whichever way you find yourself watching, whatever time. God willing, I'll be with you again next week. Until then, stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.